stepping out of the apartment just now, I told my wife, I popped out of the shower, and I said to her, I'm going to step outside. I said, I've got a video to make. And as I went to the door, she was laying on the couch, and she spoke up, and she said, "You're back." And I was like, I thought for a second, yeah, I guess I am. And I knew what she meant. The video guy is back. For the longest time, you know, I basically the muse had left me, as I like to describe. Well, maybe not the muse so much as the direction and the focus wasn't there. I was focused on other things. But my family settled. Well, nearly so. I'd say, you know, 80%, speak in Japanese, maybe about 80% settled. And now with them kind of able to, comfortable in doing their own things, I'm finding my old ways are coming back. And one of those things is this, making the videos. So, yeah, so I guess she's right, I'm back. And she also cautioned me not to get arrested, so I'll try not to. So I'll find a little place here at the park to share a thought. So the thought is this. This is the one I had in the bath. In the shower, actually. So I've done something. There's a string of things that have happened. One is that now that Emily's back, especially Emily, and now that I realize, and her English is just progressing so fast, and the reality is that English is probably going to end up being her first language, or at least neck and neck with Japanese as a first language when she becomes an adult. That's opened up a lot of doors to me. I mean, amazing doors to me. For one, our ability to communicate. Whereas, like I think I've said before, in Japan, she kind of closed off to me because I represented the foreignness in a land that demanded conformity. So, kind of drifting away in that regard, and it was difficult. Fortunately, I left before it got really bad, I think. And high school years, I think, were going to be a little tricky. But now here we're closer, and we're communicating and opening and flowing in ideas, and it's wonderful. And I'm realizing now that as she goes older and especially becomes an adult, we'll be able to do this. And basically, English, we have that in common now, my daughter and I. And so I came up with an idea. I wanted to, and I've already started, to put together a library for her. Some of I'm not much of a reader, but the few books that I have been very influential to me, I'm collecting those. I started with one, and I'm going to read through them again and mark them up and leave my notes and my markings and create a little collection for her. It won't be big because, like I said, I haven't read a lot, but I hope to add some more to it, and then give that to her and say, hey, here's your father's books, for whatever that's worth, and maybe a little something she can have for herself and to pass along. And it'll have little notes in there and stuff, for whatever, like I said, for whatever it's worth. It's not really my notes or anything that are the thing. It's more or less bringing together the stuff that has moved me and shaped me, and to share that with my daughter and hopefully down the line. So what happened, there's a couple of thoughts. One, two, and now we're going to the third one, which is the point of the video. Missed road signs. So I'm reading Walden again. This is probably the third time, maybe 3.5, 3 3/4 time that I read it in my life. First time was when I was 16. Second time was in my mid-30s, and then I think I read it in bits and pieces in my 40s, and now I'm going to do it again in my 50s. And what happened was, and I'm going through it carefully. I've got my yellow marker and my pen, so I mark off in yellow the parts that I want to highlight, and then I add notes in the side with a pen. And what happened was today, at lunch today, I took my book and I went out to a bench in the park and I was eating my lunch, and I came across a sentence that I was reading along, and I read through it, and I got about another sentence and a half along, and I stopped and I went, wait a minute. I remember reading these sentences. I remember these passages. I remember a few quotes that I memorized from heart. For example, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. From the desperate city, they go to the desperate countryside, and must console themselves with the bravery of minks and muskrats. Now, I memorized that when I was 16. It was one of the passages that I figured out. A lot of the stuff I couldn't figure out because of the vocabulary and the writing style, the 19th century writing style, and of course, Thoreau's way of encapsulating ideas in these gigantic paragraphs that go extend half a page or more. and long sentences. What a lot of ways of semicolons. But he had the great flowing. It's great to read it out loud. Anyway, so that was one of the ones that I memorized, and I remembered, and it had an impact on me. These things, that book was the book that formed me and made me who I was as a teenager and pushed me off more than anything else. That's why I come back to it so often, even though there are others that have influenced me a lot since then. Probably none quite so much though. But to the point I want to make is, so I'm reading along, and some of the stuff I remember reading it. I remember the flow of the words and the character of the writing and some of the sentences. And there were pieces you kind of drift off and you wouldn't quite get, and then you'd read along further, and there's a part you get again, and then like that. That's how it is. Anyway, this one sentence, it's a single sentence. Reading along, I read the sentence, and I read a flow, and then wait a minute, and I went back and I went, I get it. It took me 3 3/4 readings of this book to get that sentence. It was the first time I understood it, and it wasn't because of the vocabulary. Like I said, it was hard for me because of the vocabulary. When I first time I read it, I carried a dictionary with me, and I had to look up so many words because I didn't understand them. But it wasn't the vocabulary, and it wasn't that it was long. It was a relatively short sentence. It was the context and the way that, not even the context, it was just the way that Thoreau framed the thought. A single thought in a single sentence, and I got it for the first time ever. And I'm not going to repeat it because it's there for anyone that wants to look for it. It's in the book. But what I realized at that moment was that if I had understood it when I was 16, if I had understood what that sentence meant, it would have had a profound impact upon me. I knew that my mind and my life was at that point was ready for a rudder, ready for a course direction. And I took a couple of the sentences, a couple of the passages, a couple of the chapters, a couple of the quotes, and they kind of set the rudder, and I went in a particular direction. If I had understood that one sentence at the time, it would have changed the rudder a little bit. And it probably would have made a great difference. I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. I should still be standing under the moon, wherever the moon is. Oh, very Cynthia, where are you? It's up there somewhere. I'd still be standing under the moon, but I wouldn't be me out here now at this place. What a difference it would have made. What a difference. Now, I'm not saying that it would have been a better life or a better me, but it certainly would have been a me that would have been. I'm hesitant to say the word better guided, nudged, directed, influenced, catalyzed, all of these things at once. But wow. So the whole thing was, I was standing in the shower and I was just realizing that it was like a young man that I was, 16 years old, moving along, heading into life, and I missed a signpost because I didn't understand it, and I went off in a particular direction. And what would life have been like if I had understood that signpost? And in no way should this be construed as a regret of anything towards what I have or what I am, but simply an observation of the impact of an immediate understanding versus the time that it takes for life to settle in. What it is that allowed me to understand it now was probably the greater maturity, more care taken in reading the words, and also the fact of the respect that I have for the words now, and the attempt the greater effort that I'm giving now in reading this for my daughter, in trying to discern and not miss anything. That's probably the biggest one right there. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll finish off as I just wrap up with a funny story. This is just to sign off. Bring it around 10 minutes here. In leaving Japan, something that I did was I left the JVlog community, the community of Japan vloggers, pretty much for the most part, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't necessarily because it wasn't at all because I dislike it. I love those people. It's a great community. In fact, coming over here and realizing what a rarefied atmosphere that was with the JVloggers. There really are. The people that wind up over there are pretty distilled and rarefied. It's rarefied air in the JVlog community, and I mean that in a really good way. it takes a lot of courageous, interesting, spontaneous, and adventurous people to wind up in that environment. And I see it now. But anyway, so I pretty much disconnected from it all because I had to focus on this life. Remember, this has nothing to do with the throw quote. It's just a funny thing that had me chuckling all through the day. But one thing that I didn't give up was online, which is like a communication app. Online, there was a group that I was invited to join. Gosh, it's been years ago, 3 years, maybe more ago, and it was kind of like for J vloggers. So I don't remember who started it, TKO Sam, or maybe it was Unrested or one of those guys. Anyway, I got invited because I was a J vlogger. I got invited into this thing, but I never really participated much. I was kind of an older guy. I was mostly the young. At the time, they were kind of the younger crowd, and now they're kind of the middle crowd because there's the new crop of J vloggers that have come in. So I stayed in there, and Victor would pop in sometimes, and others, but mostly it was the younger crowd, like I said. But anyway, so I never dropped out of the group. I've been there ever since, and I've been kind of lurking ever since. I don't even think they know that I'm there. There's like 20 or 30 people in the group. Unless you see the roster, you wouldn't even know I'm there. And they talk, and it's kind of ear to the ground on what's happening with the younger J-vlog community. Anyway, somebody came in today with the funniest thing. There was a question asked about how to approach a Japanese woman that you meet in a bar, and the comment was, saying something like "sumimasen," which is like kind of sounds feminine. What's a better way to approach it? And Sam of course jumps in with his, "Oi, woman," which he wrote out in Japanese. Now that's about all I'll give away as to what a particular person was saying. Let's just say that it got into a very interesting conversation. There was Sam and Lex and Mira and others, and it went in. I woke up this morning. I think there were close to hundreds of comments that just filtered down this incredible discussion of approaching Japanese women versus American women, and the dialogue that was going on. It was very entertaining and brought me back to the J-vlog world, and caused me to appreciate greatly the keen minds, the ample humor, and the ready wit of the people of that community that I was once a part. So I'll continue to lurk on that little channel there, even if they don't even know I'm there. Maybe they will if any of them see it now, but I don't think anybody watches. That group watches this kind of stuff, so keep our secret. I can't believe I've gone to almost 13 minutes. I got to go back, or my wife will think I did indeed get arrested. So watch out for those signposts, and especially the ones that you may miss, whether that be for a good or ill. Well, I guess we'd never know, would we? Take care, everybody. More to come later. Taking my girls out from dawn patrol, 6:30 a.m. in the morning. We're going to be down Laguna Beach. Coffee and pastries at the beach, followed by a morning swim. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.